website right now and download my free course on alternate picking mastery. It contains 5 essential exercises that will take you to alternate picking mastery faster than you can imagine. And then I've included my method of how to lay out a practice plan in just 1 to 2 minutes that will absolutely boost your results like nothing you ever tried before. So go download it right now. It's free. Hey, I have a question from a guy who's developing his picking techniques, and this is a classic problem that he's facing, that whenever he's doing something just slightly out of the ordinary, like bending a string, so he's picking away and developing skills, and it's going well, and then when he's bending a string, suddenly the whole thing changes, and he can't seem to hit it the right way and do the things he used to be doing, and the same problem occurred for me when I had been practicing picking with muted strings. And you know, a bunch of my students as well, before I updated the philosophy on alternate picking, that you know you mute just the strings, and then in order to have focus on what's going on and to create that feedback loop where the brain can really discover what's going on and it can feel and hear the little mistakes we make so we can correct them, we take out the left hand because we don't want notes and to muddy up that whole thing. And we want to do one thing at one time. So we want to develop our picking techniques and not our fretting techniques at the same time. So I used to practice, you know, accenting and picking one string or picking 2 strings with 3 notes on each over and over again, like an insane person, right? And I did it so much that when I started playing actual notes, then the whole string tension changed. Because one thing is the string when you pick it with muted, and a totally other thing is when you actually fret the notes. Today, I cannot feel the difference. There's no problem for me here because of a simple thing. And that is the fact that when you're developing your skills, you are so dependent on everything being in the same way because the brain is trying to learn one thing. That is with you know, even if you go from string to string, you're going to experience how it's really hard to pick the low E string versus the high E string because those 2 strings are very different. It's fat and it's light and thin, right? And so that change suddenly makes the brain want to learn a whole new thing. And it is almost a whole new thing. And in the beginning, that's why you need to focus on just one string with the same amount of tension, either fretted or unfretted. And the fact that when you move on from that, of playing just a muted string or playing the same 3 notes in the same place on the neck, because even if you change the fretting to up here, it's going to feel different for your right hand when you pick, because the string is a little bit harder. Because the brain is trying to learn one thing with one amount of tension on the string, and really does whatever it can to become good at that one thing. Then as soon as you change that one thing a little bit, you just throw it completely off center. And that's natural and normal. But you want to focus, that's why we want to focus on the same thing and then grinding it until we master it. Because then, at that point, you can then take on the next thing of doing just the thing you've been practicing, but on the next string, or the next string, or with notes instead of with no notes, right? But you need to focus and say, that's just normal. You know, if I practice with muted strings for a month, and I do this like 3 hours or 4 hours in front of the TV each night, then by the end of that month, my brain is going to be so used to that tension of the string. So when I start playing notes, that's a little process. There's a little zone I have to move through to take the skills of picking a muted string to going to playing, you know, picking a string that has notes in it, right? And that's the thing. You need to practice that. Once you are up to level with that, then you can start practicing normally again. Then you can start learning again. But you just have to make that little transition between the muted string and between that bent string, whatever it is. But do not get discouraged because it's just the way it is. So first you learn a little isolated thing, the same freaking string with the same hand position, and you practice that most of the time, right? You might do other strings and do other things, but you kind of narrow in on just that little exercise ground where you just practice on one string. And then once you develop the capacity to do it quite easily, you expand and take that little skill into other areas. It's the same for sports. It's the same for everything. If I was going to learn to put a ball through the hoop or hit the goal every time, I would stand on the same place on the playing field all the time and do 100,000 free throws, for instance, to hit that before I started running around the playing field, because I need to create that little space for my brain to learn something that is the same thing exactly every single time. Same ball, same weight, same basket, same place on the playing field, and then, grind it until you're really good at it. Then you can start moving around and putting yourself on other places or changing the string. Or you can start playing up against other guys who will push you around. But you need to, when you are training, when you're doing exercises, you need to stay in the same isolated place and then be very open to the fact that once you move outside of that isolated place, you can use the same skills. But it takes a little while for you to get used to that different angle or that extra distance to the basket or whatever it is here.
Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.